Okay, Abdullah, I'm going to talk to you about the critical path. So I've got a project schedule here. You can see it's a pretty large project schedule, and we can see there's 144 different lines in this thing. So what I want to do now is tell you what I know about the critical path. So the critical path, by definition, is the longest path through the network diagram. And you may ask, well, what's a network diagram? Well, if we click on this and show all subtasks, this is your network diagram here. It's basically the bar chart that's on the right. Um, so it's the longest path through the network diagram. It's also the shortest amount of duration. You can see the overall duration here. It's the shortest amount of duration or time that this project can be completed. By definition, any 1 day delay in a task that's on the critical path will turn into a 1 day delay in the overall project. Okay, so that's some of the fundamental definitions of the critical path and tasks are on the critical path. How how it is established, or how the critical path is established, is by the logic that we create by leveraging our predecessors and also the successors. That's why every task except for your very first task needs to have a predecessor, and every task in your project schedule, by best practice definition, every task in your project schedule except for the very last task should have a successor. So if we look at this schedule here, whatever, however many number of tasks, if we go all the way to the bottom, you will find that there is no successor because this is the last task in the project schedule. We never put a predecessor on the summary tasks, you can see here, or a successor. Never put a predecessor or a successor on any of the summary tasks. You can see this schedule abides by those best practices. Okay, so how the critical path is established by Microsoft Project. It's the logic that you establish between the tasks as well as the duration of the tasks. Okay, that's how it gets established. Now, how can we see the critical path in Microsoft Project and how can we work with it? Well, the best place that I'm going to take you to is over to what we call the tracking Gantt. So from the tracking Gantt view, if I go back to the top here of this schedule and I click on scroll to task so we can see the picture. And so now we can see that over here on the right, some of these taskbars are in red, whereas some of them are in blue. And the tasks that are showing up in the bar chart in red are those tasks that are on the critical path. And so if we were to follow this critical path throughout this entire project schedule and follow just the critical path, you can see it's connecting here, it's connecting here, it's going down, and we follow this thing all the way down, what you will find is, because we've got a fully dynamic schedule, every predecessor, you can see it goes all the way to the end. And so that right there verifies that it is the longest path. There are other paths through this network diagram, but the critical path is the longest path because it starts with the very first task and in this case ends with the very last task. And again, you can see the tasks that are on the critical path in the bar chart. They are highlighted in red. But let me now show you another trick. If you click on the tab that says Gantt chart format, and click on, well, let me back up for just a second. So seeing them here on the right, like, okay, I can see them there, but sometimes it's hard to, follow the task across. And wouldn't it be nice if the tasks that are on the critical path were red over here? So we can do that by clicking on text styles, and if we say, instead of all tasks, if we say critical tasks, and then we make the color red, and we click on OK. Now all of your tasks that are on the critical path on the left side show up in red. So now you can easily see which tasks are on the critical path, and there's a one-to-one connection, between the color coding now with what's on the left and what's on the right. So that's sometimes very helpful to have this on the tracking Gantt have that color coding turned on so you can hop over here in the tracking Gantt view and easily see them. And then there's one more thing we're able to do. We're actually able to insert the column called critical. And from critical, you can see when Microsoft Project sees a task that's on the critical path, it flags it with a yes. So now you could easily click off the no, and now you're able to see just the critical path tasks in your project schedule like that. So my friend, I think that's about it. That's now it's all about fixing all of those things that are not quite right, and then Microsoft Project will tell you what your critical path is. Hope this helps, man.